Hello and welcome to this sort of first look exploring section. It's a sort of return to Chester. We're continuing our work through the Chester Mystery Cycle, or one of the Chester Mystery Cycles. There are many witnesses to the texts of, late witnesses to the texts of the Mystery Cycles that existed for hundreds of years, but in a state of flux, especially after the Reformation. We have already looked at these in the distant past on the podcast in a very different format, and it's time to now expose this room, the Zoom room, to the world of Chester and to complete their education on the for those who needed educating, quite a few of them didn't, on the world of Chester Mystery Cycles, having read all of the others. So it sort of brings us all round full circle and tidies everything up. Today we're hopefully looking at plays 3, 4 and 5. We'll see how much time we have. So we're going to be starting with the third pageant of Noes Flood, or Noes Flood, by the water leaders and drawers of Dee. Without further ado, we are a bit short of readers, just last minute, so some of these parts will change, but reading Cam, Jafet's wife, Abraham and Balaam is...
Sarah Blake in Germany.
Reading Deus, God, Cam's wife and Melchysedech is...
I am Alpha et Omega, otherwise known as Greg.
Reading Sem, the Good Gossips and Moses is...
Hi, I'm Lynn. I'm in the northwestern United States.
Reading Noah, Armiger, Second Angel and Balak is...
I'm Lois, looking out the window, not raining yet, but flood may come any time in London.
Reading Jafett, Isaac and Miles is...
I thought that was Miles. Hi, I'm Eric, and bringing you the weather here. Hi. Apparently it started raining when I got home, so...
It does that. And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I'll be reading lots of other things, as I'm sure lots of the people here will be reading lots of other things as we move some stuff around. Keep an eye on the chat, because I'll throw random parts at you as we go. I will pass on to Lynn. Could you read Noah's wife, actually, and I'll take Sem away from you for the moment.
Okay.
I think that's probably the best way of doing it. If you could be Noah's wife and Sem's wife, 2 wives.
Okay.
That should get us through the next sequence reasonably well. So I'll read stage directions and I'll read Sem, and we should be fine. Okay, so without further ado, we're going to have a little look at the third pageant of Chester. I say based on various versions, so there may be slight textual variations depending on which version you are looking at home, if you are doing so indeed. But it all starts off with God at the first in some high place, because you're occasionally going to get stage directions that aren't in the script that you're reading, people. In some high place or in the clouds, if it may be, God speaketh unto Noe, standing without the ark with all his family.
I, God, that all the world hath wrought, heaven and earth and all of naught, I see my people in deed and thought are set up foul in sin. My ghost shall not lenge in man, that through flesh likely is my foe, but till 60 years be gone, to look if the world blind. Man that I made I will destroy, beast, worm, and fowl to fly, for on earth they do me noy, the folk that are thereon. It harms me so hurtfully, the malice now that can multiply, that sore it grieveth me inwardly, that ever I made man. Therefore know, my servant free, that righteous man art as I see. A ship soon thou shalt make thee, of trees dry and light. Little chambers therein thou make, and bindings sly cheap. Also thou take within and without thou slake, to anoint it through all thy might. 300 cubits it shall be long, and 50 of breadth to make it strong, of height 50. The meat thou fond, does measure it about. 1 window work through thy wit, a cubit of length and breadth make it. Upon the side a door shall sit for to come in and out. Eating places thou make also, 3 roofing chambers, 1 or 2, for with water I think to flow, man that I can make. Destroyed all the world shall be, save thou, thy wife, thy sons 3, and their wives also with thee, shall saved be for thy sake.
Ah, Lord, I thank thee loud and still that to me art in such will, and spares me and my host to spill, as now I soothly find. Thy bidding, Lord, I shall fulfill, and nevermore they grieve ne grill, that such grass have sent me till among all mankind. Have done ye men and women all, help for aught that may befall to work this ship, chamber and hall, as God hath bidden us do.
Father, I am already bound, an axe I have by my crown, as sharp as any in all this town, for to go there too.
I have an hatchet, wonder keen, to bite well, as may be seen. A better grown den, as I ween, is not in all this town.
And I can well make a pin and with this hammer knock it in. Go and work without more din, and I'm ready bound.
We shall bring timber too, for we maun nothing else do. Women be weak to undergo any great travail. Here is a good hackstock, and this you may hew and knock. Shall none be idle in this flock? Nay now, may no man fail.
And I will go to gather slice the ship for to clean and pitch, anointed it must be every stitch, board, tree and pin.
And I will gather chips here to make a fire for you in fear, and for to diet you in dinner against you come in.
And then Noah beginneth to build the ark.
No, in the name of God, I begin to mark this ship that we shall in, that we be ready for to swim at the coming of the flood. These boards I join here together to keep us safe from the weather, that we may row both hither and thither and safe be from this flood. Of this tree will I make a mast, tied with gables that will last, with a sail yard for each blast, and each thing in their kind. With topcastle and bowsprit, with cords and ropes, I have all mate, to sail forth at the next weight. This ship is at an end. Wife, in this castle we shall be kept, my children and thou, I would ye inlept.
In faith, Noah, I had as lief thou slept for all thy Frankish fare. I will not do after thy rede.
Good wife, do now as I thee bid.
By Christ, not, no, not, or I see more need, though thou stand all day and stare.
Lord, that women be crabbed I, and never are make, I dare well say. This is well seen by me today, in witness of you, every one. Good wife, let be all this bear that thou makest in this place here, for all they ween that thou art master, and so thou art, by St. John.
Then Noe, with all his family, work upon the ship with diverse instruments. There's an alternative version of that. Then Noe, with all his family, shall make a sign, as though they wrought upon the ship with diverse instruments. And after that God shall speak to Noe as followeth.
Noah, take thou thy mean, and in the ship high that you be, for none so righteous man to me is now on earth living. Of clean beasts with thee thou take 7 and 7, or thou snake, he and she make believe in that thou bring. Of beasts unclean 2 and 2, male and female without moe. Of clean fowls 7 also, that he and she together. Of fowls unclean 2 and no more, as I have beasts said before, that man be saved through my Lord against I send the weather. Of all meats that must be eaten into the ship, look there be getten, for that no way may be forgotten, and do this all bidden to sustain man and beasts therein, aye, till the waters cease and blin. This world is filled full of sin, and that is now well seen. 7 days be yet coming, you shall have space them in to bring. After that it is my liking mankind for to nigh. 40 days and 40 nights rain shall fall for their unrights, and that I have made through mights now think I to destroy.
Lord, at your bidding I am bane, sith none other grass will gain, for it will I fulfill fain, for gracious I thee find. 100 winters and 20 this ship macking tarried have I, if through amendment thy mercy would fall unto mankind. Have done, ye men and women all, hie ye, lest this water fall, that each beast were in his stall and into the ship brought. Of clean beasts 7 shall be, of unclean 2. Thus God bade me. The flood is nigh, you may well see, therefore tarry you not.
Then Noes shall go into the ark with all his family, his wife except, and the ark must be boarded round about. And one of the boards, all the beasts and fowls herein rehearsed, must be painted, that their words may agree with the pictures. Sorry, I was waiting for someone. Sir, here are lions, leopards in, horses, mares, oxen and swine, geats, calves, sheep and kine, here sitten thou may see.
Camels, asses, man may find, buck, doe, hart and hind, and beast of all manner of kind here been, as thinketh me.
Take your cats and dogs too, otters, foxes, fulmart also. Hares hopping gaily can go, cowl here for these.
Here are bears, wolves set, apes, owls, marmoset, weasels, squirrels, and ferret. Here they eaten their meat. Yet more beasts are in this house. Here catus making carouse. Here a rotten, here a mouse. They stand nigh together.
And here are fowls less and more, herons, cranes, and bittle, swans, peacocks, and them before meet for this weather.
Here are cocks, kites, crows, rooks, ravens, many rows, ducks, curlews, whoever knows, each one in his kind. And here are doves, digs, drakes, redshanks running through the lakes, and each fowl that Lynn makes in the ship man may find.
Wife, come in. Why standst thou there? Thou art ever forward, that dare I swear. Come in on God's half time it were, for fear that lest we drown.
Yea, sir, set up your sail and row forth with evil heel, for without any fail I will not out of this town. But I have my gossips every one foot further I will not go. They shall not down by St. John, and I may save their life. They loved me full well by Christ, but thou wilt not let them in thy kist. Else row forth, Noe, when thou list, and get thee a new wife.
Sam, son, thy mother is raw, for sooth such another I do not know.
Oh, father, I shall fetch her in, I trow, without any fail. Mother, my father after thee send, and bids thee into yonder ship wend. Look up and see the wind, for we be ready to sail.
Son, go again, and to him say, I will not come therein today.
Come in, wife, in 20 devils' way, or else stand there without.
Shall we all fetch her in?
Yea, sons, in Christ's blessing and mine, I would you hide you betime, for of this flood I am in doubt.
We are going to pause here, because I think we've taken quite a lot. Alan's managed to hopefully be online and be with us, and we can redistribute parts slightly. Welcome, Alan. Where to start with this? Okay, there are lots of positives. There are some negatives here. I think it would be fair to say that there is a slight biased against the wives and Noes specifically in this text. some of which is more problematic than others. But I think I'm going to start off with the positives, which is lots of descriptions of animals, because they really do go into the important animals to go onto the ark. And yes, weasels, squirrels, and ferrets. I mean, nobody talks about those these days, do they? They don't talk about, you've got to get the ferrets on. Whose trousers are they going down? Apes, owls, and marmosets. I mean, it's just delightful. And the stage directions, and again, because these are sort of dancing between slightly different versions, different stage directions for different versions. Just this lovely. You've got painted boards that go into the ark, so you've got a real sense of. Quite a simple, in a sense, way of depicting this, but it's quite charming. I'm really quite charmed by the way the stage picture is being managed here, and what they're cramming onto this thing. Thoughts in the room? Who wants to leap in? Lynn.
Yeah, you can kind of see the performers gesturing at the paintings. Look, here's a cat and a mouse. I want you to notice that we are very thorough here.
Yeah, all the animals. I'm not sure which animals they miss out, but they do go from different scale. You know, we're still horses, mares, oxen, etc., and we seem to be working our way down in size. So, and we do get down to birds, which is always one of those interesting questions about the art. You know, the things that potentially could survive on the water, some of them, but maybe not for extended periods of time. Greg.
It's something really simple, but some of those I would love to see how they were painted, because how many people would actually have seen some of those creatures? I mean, hares and so on would be very common, but there were a couple where I thought, I'd love to see how they were thought of.
Yes, what is the medieval idea of a camel? Is it the same as that? Leopards. I mean, it starts with lions and leopards. I mean, which of the sons of Noah got them in? It's like, okay, Sem, off you go, get the lions in. I'm not looking forward to being the one on that job. Eric.
Yeah, I just like how these are small. Well, they're not huge characters like the sons and the well, I guess the wife is kind of almost equivalent, but they still have their own dimension. Like one has a hammer, the other has an axe, the other has I can't remember what the other one has. But basically they're now going to try and get the mother on board, quite literally. I'm not coming up with that contraption. What do you think you're doing? It just I don't know. It's fun.
Yeah, and yes, there's here's where we have some differences between what is expected the women are going to do and what they will do, and questions here. I don't know if anyone has any thoughts on that, or whether we just note it and move on. I don't know. It may turn up again as a trope in later drama, so it's probably thing to note. Lynn.
One other weird thing, to me it's weird, is that they keep saying be Christ, by Christ. It's like that hasn't happened. I mean, is that deliberate, or are we supposed to understand that Noah and his family understood what the ultimate future of God's plan was going to be? Is that sort of they know what's happening providentially, or is that just they're
placeholders in text usually? Especially if it's at the end of the line. So we need something to rhyme with iced, kind of thing. I mean, in a sense, less so at Chester, because from a certain point onwards they split it over 3 days. But with a lot of cycles, these things are literally all happening at the same time. Time is an illusion. Time is circular. So yes. I don't think they literally, very often literally are supposed to know, but they always refer to the by Christ and Christ's wounds and things like that, long before Christ actually appears in the narrative. Lois, I suspect, was going to say something very similar.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you get constant references, not just to Christ, but to Mary. I mean, even to saints, in plays that are clearly set in Old Testament times. Yeah.
Eric, then Sarah.
I was just going to point out that there must be some comedy business with the, shall we all fetch her in? It's like 3 guys trying to pick up 1 woman. I mean, okay, obviously it might be a male actor, but like, yeah.
Mhm.
Yes, I mean, this is the thing. We don't have the actual stage direction for what happens at that moment. All we have is the inference that everybody picks up Mrs. Noah and throws her into the ark at this point, or something similar. It doesn't always quite work that way, depending on which version of the story you do. There are a lot of variations on this element of the business of the Noah plays, depending on the play and what the playwright wants to do. Lois.
Yeah, I'm puzzled actually by this good gossips bit. For one thing, these are the bad gossips, aren't they? I mean, that's why they're being left behind and not saved in the ark. They're actually called the good gossips in the text, are they?
Yes, that is literally their stage thing, and it's noted in, I think, in some versions that this is coming up as a song as opposed to a dialogue that we're about to read for those confused, because that hasn't actually been read out yet. Yeah, so I think we can infer that possibly the good gossips come on singing while Noah's wife is being dragged off into the ark, and it's actually a way of breaking up some stage business or something. But we can make more confident assertions on that.
Yeah, actually, I don't think they're dragging her off yet.
Yeah,
And
it's the
just
question of
judging
when
from it.
things are happening.
Yeah.
And until I think we've read all of it, we can
Yeah.
make decisions on that in a moment. Sarah.
I just wanted to say that I really liked one of the small details I liked was the fact that Noah says it's taken him 120 years to build the ark. I can't remember if that's in the Bible or not, but like, I was just like, because it is a big ship. Yeah, it would take you a while. It's like, now we know it's 120 years.
Hey, Eric.
I just like the beginning where God is just like basically handing him the IKEA blueprint. Like, yeah, you put the door and the sort of, it has one way in, one way out, and then a ramp and that kind of, I don't know. I just like that description.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the defining elements of that part of the Bible itself. Is that it does go into a lot of logistical detail about this is why people try to build arks, is because they go, well, we've got the blueprints, and it's well, you try and interpret what you mean by that, and this bit there, and it's not like there's no Allen key. I mean, I quite like the idea that Archangel Gabriel turns up with a giant Allen key,
and the missing nut, always one nut missing or something.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to finish it off from the moment of good gossips to say we have no stage directions to saying precisely what's happening at this moment, because it's a little confused. I would say, Alan, if you can read from this point any dialogue by Semes or Semes' wife, please. Any of the Semes.
Right.
I don't think there's just to leave Lynn, who's been doing both them and Mrs. Noah, and also now the good gossips. So it's all got a bit truncated. Poor forward planning on my part. Anyway, so the good gossips are either saying or singing this.
The flood comes in full fleeting fast on every side that spread it full fair. For fear of drowning I am aghast. Good gossip, let us draw near, and let us drink, or we depart. For oftentimes we have done so. For at one draught thou drink a quart, or so I will do, or I go. Here's a pottle full of Malmsey good and strong. It will rejoy both heart and tongue. Though Noah think us never so long, yet we will drink alike.
Mother, we pray you all together, for we are here your own children. Come into the ship, for fear of the weather, for his love that you bought.
That will I not for all your call, but I have my gossips all.
Your faith, mother, yet you shall, whether you will or not.
Welcome, wife, unto this boat.
And have thou that for thy moat?
Oh, aha, Mary, this is hot. It is good to be still. Children, methinks my boat remeaves. Our tarrying here hugely me grieves. Over the land the water spreads. God do as he will.
And we'll just briefly pause there. So, yes, we can infer that Noah's wife didn't go into the ark. She was staying with the good gossips, having their drink. And then they carried her into the ark, and at which point she hits her husband.
Yeah.
I think we can infer that, and have thou that for thy mote. I think we can infer as a physical
That's what
action.
I thought, yeah.
But in the meantime, it looks like it's the water is spreading as well. So it's this question of the text is inferring all sorts of stuff that's supposed to be going on. Whether that's actualized on stage, I don't know. How much they do with that. But anyway, after Noah spoke, they then sing. So there's some sort of a song occurs. There's a song cue, and then Noah shall speak again.
Ah, great God, that art so good, that workest not thy will is wood. Now all this world is on a flood, as I see well in sight. This window I will shut anon, and into my chamber I will gone, till this water so great one be slaked through thy might.
Then shall Noe shut the window of the ark, and for a little space within the boards he shall be silent. And afterward, opening the window and looking round about, saying,
Now 40 days are fully gone. Send a raven, I will anon, if aught where's earth's tree or stone be dry in any place. And if this fowl come not again, it is a sign, sooth to sayn, that dry it is on hill or plain, and God hath done some grace. Ah, Lord, wherever this raven be, somewhere is dry, well I see. But yet a dove by my luty after I will send. Thou wilt turn again to me, for of all fowls that may fly, thou art most meek and hend. Ah, Lord, blessed be thou, that may hast comfort thus today. By this sicht I may well say this flood begins to cease. My sweet dove to me brought has a branch of olive from some place. This betokeneth God hath done us some grace, and is a sign of peace. Ah, Lord, honored must thou be. All earth dries now I see, but yet till thou command me, hence will I not hie. All of this water is away. Therefore, as soon as I may, sacrifice I shall do in fay to thee devoutly.
And before God speaks in this version, there is a different version of the text where all Noah says is, Lord God in majesty, that such grace hast granted me, where all was born safe to be. Therefore now I am bound, my wife, my children, and my many, with sacrifice to honour thee, of beasts, fowls, as thou mayest see, and full of devotion. And then God speaks, and again we have various versions. No, that is actually in this version, but later on. It's very confused. I'm going to dance around a lot. I apologise. But anyway, God replies.
No, take thy wife anon, and take thy children, every one, out of the ship that thou shalt gone, and they all with thee. Beasts and all that can fly, out anon they shall hie, on earth to grow and multiply. I will that it be so.
Lord, I thank thee through thy might, thy bidding shall be done in haste, and as fast as I may dicht, I will do thee honour, and to thee offer sacrifice, therefore comes in all wise, for of these beasts that been highs, offer I will this stour.
And he makes a sacrifice and says the dialogue I said earlier, but Lois can say it again.
Oh, Lord God in majesty, that such grace hath granted me, where all was lorn safe to be. Therefore know I am bound, my wife, my children, and my many, with sacrifice to honour thee, with beasts, fowls, as thou may see, I offer here right soon.
No, to me thou art full able, and thy sacrifice acceptable. For I have found thee true and stable, on thee now must I mind. Weary earth I will no more, for man's sin that grieves me sore. For of youth man full yore hath been inclined to sin. You shall now grow and multiply, and earth again to edify. Each beast and fowl that may fly shall be afraid of you, and fish in sea that may flit, and shall sustain you, you behind. To eat of them you let that clean bean ye may know, that as you have eaten before, grass and roots sith you were bore, of clean beasts now, less and more, I shall give you leave to eat. Save blood and flesh, both in fear of wrong dead carrion that is here. Eat not of that in no manner, for that you shall let. Manslaughter also you shall flee, for that is not pleasant unto me. They that sheds blood, he or she, ought wear amongst mankind, that blood foul shed shall be, and vengeance have that men shall see. Therefore beware now, all ye, you fall not into that sin. And forward, nor with thee I make, and all thy seed for thy sake, of such vengeance for to slake, for now I have my will. Here I behead thee a heast, that man, woman, fowl, the beast, with water while this world shall last, I will no more spill. My bow between you and me in the firmament they shall be very token that you may see that such vengeance shall cease. That man, nay woman, shall never more be wasted by water as hath before, but for sin that grieveth me sore. Therefore this vengeance was. Where clouds in the welkin bean, the ilk bow shall be seen, in tokening that my wrath and ten shall never this broken be. The string is turned towards you, and towards me is bent the bow, but such weather shall never show, and this behead I thee. My blessing now I give thee here, to thee, Noah, my servant dear, for vengeance shall no more appear. And now, farewell, my darling dear.
So, that was, after a slight technical hiatus, that was play number 3 of the Chester cycle. How did we find Noah? I'm sure some of you have thoughts, and you may even have exercised and discussed them already when the internet cut out just a minute ago. So thoughts in the room about Noah. How did we find the end there? There was a lovely moment when Noah shuts the door, and there's an awkward on-stage pause, and he comes up. Time's passed. Look,
Yeah.
screen wipe. Moment, which I quite like. The textual variants are interesting as well, because in one version you have the whole sending out birds and they come back again, and then they talk to God, and some they just go straight to thanks God, and just get on with it. So there are already sort of various different versions. Thoughts on the room, Lois?
Yeah, I have seen these plays. I'm not sure if it was this version or some other Noah play, but where they actually did have a kind of cord stretched across the theater, and you saw the raven go, and you saw the dove go, and then come back again, with Noah ad-libbing things like, here she comes, come on, honey, and so on. It's clear that the reason it may have been cut from the version you've got there is that it probably takes too long, and maybe the audience was getting restive. I take it that Noah's speech is broken up, maybe by his constantly opening and shutting that window, because clearly a lot of time is going by. I mean, these are different little scenes in the long period of the flood.
And we've got intimated songs, so maybe there's more music as well. There are music cues to do things to make that work. Greg?
Sorry, yes. I've forgotten what I was saying. No, I was saying, however many times I read these plays or see them, it's Noah's wife that always gets me. I think it's because it's not a huge amount of the Bible. Quite a lot of this is Bible, but a lot of it isn't. And I always find Noah's wife just such a brilliant characterization. It sort of makes a much needed presence to the rest of the family. I especially liked all the all the sons building it too in this one, with their various instruments.
Yeah, I mean, it's always, baby's first genocide. It's always nice to it keeps it all nice and light, because it's got animals and things, and it's got slightly problematic comedy. So it's throwing an awful lot of things into the mix there. Eric?
As soon as I mute myself. I'm intrigued by the last line where God goes, my darling dear, which is kind of like a very, well, not intimate greeting, but it doesn't sound like God. After all the, I created the world. And then like, yeah, bye, darling. Bye, love, or something like that. It just seems very like a different type of God through the text.
I'm fairly certain there's God does refer to various prophets in a quite an intimate way, so it's not completely. But you're right. There is occasionally this sort of disconnect between God when he's going, "Go forth and multiply, and don't eat these things, but eat those things, except on Fridays," and because God is packing in awful lot of taboos here and things that are slightly weird things to cram into the play. I mean, it's like they're not. I suppose it is important that God says, "Okay, fresh start. Could we just start from basic level stuff of, we won't even go to the 10 Commandments. We'll just talk about diet. Let's start from that and things. Other thoughts before we move on? No. Okay. Well, hopefully we won't cut out horribly in the next play, which is the Barber's play of an extended. It's Abraham and Isaac, but it's Abraham doing Abraham-y things first before we get to the cheerful, happy stuff of Abraham and Isaac. So yeah, we got a lot of people dancing around here, and I will fill in for the parts for the person who is absent. Otherwise, we'll just go on as per. So, Lynn, yes.
I don't have anything listed for this.
Oh, excellent. Then you can be Lot/Expositor. I think there might be Expositor in this one. It might be the next one. But you would definitely be Lot. Yeah, Lot and Expositor.
I think I'm Preco, aren't I?
You are indeed Preco, of which there may be some overlap, but I've kept them separate. Okay, excellent. Well, that saves me a job. So without further ado, let's go through the Abraham play.
All peace, lordings that be present, and hearken now with good intent. Now know, away from us he's went, and all his company. And Abraham, through God's grace, he is coming into this place. And you will give him room and space to tell you this story. This play, forsooth, begin shall he in worship of the Trinity, that ye may all hear and see what shall be done today. My name is Gobbet on the Green, with you no longer I may been. Farewell, my lordings, by all dean, for letting of your play.
Just going to pause there because it's really weird. So we have this guy, Gobbet on the Green, who turns up and says, "Oh, right, hang on, we're just going to clear Noah. He's moving on to the next station, but you're going to get this bit, and but I've got a dash." It does this is every so often you're going medieval drama could be just as professional as other drama outfits, and then every so often you just get amateur hour turn up, and it's just some guy in who he does this. He always introduces this one. He'll be doing the tombola later. It's something about this bit that's just so weird. Anyone want to Gobbet on Gobbet? Lois?
Yeah, it makes me wonder. I mean, for one thing, I'm not quite sure what he means by farewell, my lordings, all be dean for letting of your play, because letting can mean getting in the way of, hindering. Has he perhaps been doing some stunts or something, and in which case a name like Gobbet on the Green would be appropriate for him?
He sort of pans people in between acts or something. He's come on and done a little bit of interpretive dance.
Yeah, well, tumbling, playing with his trick dog. I don't know, whatever he's got, but because it just seems a bit odd. I mean, he is obviously announcing what's going to happen, but then But,
Is
but,
it-
but, you know, with
is it
ye
that-
no longer, I may be, I can't stay any longer. Why should he? I mean, it's as if
Yeah.
he must have been, there must be some reason why they'd expect him to.
Is it just they know Noah's going to take ages to clear, so they've got some guy in to do some stuff, and it's this guy, and it's ended up as a survival in the text, because of course this is an ongoing event, and yeah, maybe that's what this is. Anyway, I didn't mean to pause so quickly, but it's just so weird. There is, in theory, a stage direction, depending on which version of this. Here, before we go on, Abraham having restored his brother, it's more a gloss, really, in this side note. Abraham having restored his brother Lot unto his own place, doth first of all begin the play, and saith,
Ah, thou high God, granter of grace, that ending near beginning has. I thank thee, Lord, that to me has today given victory. Lot, my brother that taken was, I have restored him in this case, and brought him home into this place through thy might and mastery. To worship thee I will not want, that 4 kings of uncouth land today hast sent into my hand, and of riches great array. Therefore, of all that I have win, to give thee tithe I will begin, the city soon when I come in, and part with thee my prey. Melchizedek, that here king is, and God's priest also he is, the tithe I will give him of this, as skill is that I do. God that has sent me victory of 4 kings graciously, with him my prey part will I, the city when I come to.
Here Lot, turning him to his brother Abraham, doth say,
Abraham, brother, I thank it thee that this day hast delivered me of enemies' hands and their postie, and saved me from woe. Therefore I will give tithing of my good a while I am living, and now also of his sending tithe I will give also.
And here the messenger doth come to Melchizedek, king of Salem, and rejoicing greatly doth say,
My lord, the king's tidings are right, your heart for to glad and light. Abraham hath slain in fight 4 kings sith he went. Here he will be this ilka night, and riches with him enough dight. I heard him thank God Almight of grace he had him sent.
And before Melchizedek speak, here Melchizedek, looking up to heaven, doth thank God for Abraham's victory, and doth prepare himself to go present to Abraham.
Ah, blessed be God that is but one. Against Abraham I will gone, worshipfully, and that anon my office to fulfill, and present him with bread and wine, for grace of God is in within. Speeds fast for love mine, for this is God's will.
And here the messenger, offering to Melchizedek a standing cup and bread also, doth say,
Sir, here is wine without and wear, and thereto bread both white and clear, to present him in good manner, that so us holpen has.
To God I wot he is full dear, for of all things in his prayer he hath without and danger and specially great grace.
And Melchizedek, coming unto Abraham, doth offer him to him a cup full of wine and bread, and saith unto him,
Abraham, welcome thou must be, God's grace is fully in thee. Blessed ever must thou be, that enemies so can make. I have brought, as you may see, bread and wine for thy degree. Receive this present now at me, and that I thee besake.
Sir King, welcome in good fay. Thy present is welcome to my pay. God has holpen me today, unworthy though I were. He shall have part of my prey that I won, sith I went away. Therefore to thee thou take it may, the 10th I offer here.
And Abraham, having received the offering of Melchizedek, he now offereth to Melchizedek an horse that is laden. Melchizedek, receiving the horse of Abraham very gladly, doth say,
And your presence, sir, take I and honour it devoutly, for much good it may signify in time that is coming. Therefore, horse, harness, and parade, as falls from my dignity, the tithe of it I take of thee, and receive thy offering.
And here doth Lot offer to Melchizedek a goodly cup, and saith, Lot? The presentation party is still in the room.
And I will offer with good intent of such goods as God hath me sent to Melchizedek, here present, as God's will is to be. Abraham, my brother, offered has, and so will I, through God's grace. This royal cup before your face, receive it now of me.
And here Melchizedek receiveth the cup of Lot.
Sir, your offering welcome is, and well I wot, forsooth it is, that fully God's will it is that is now done today. Go we together to my city, and now God heartily thank we that helps us I through his postillion, for so we full well may.
And here they do go together, and Abraham doth take the bread and wine, and Melchizedek the loaden horse. There we're going to pause, because the play does go on, but I think we should just acknowledge what a weird section of play this is. We basically have a post-war prize-giving thanks thing. We've got a horse. It's always nice to add a horse to our collection. There's a definite horse here. Nice to have a horse. Lovely horse. Has been added into the mix. Ed, thoughts on this? It does feel like you've walked into the opening ceremony of something, doesn't it? It's like, and here they hand over the ceremonial thing. Why dramatize this? What is this for, Lois?
Yeah, these actors got the short straw. I mean, I think, that's why we've got an expositor coming up to say, what the hell was this about?
So is this a business of Abraham having a brother named Lot? Interesting coincidence. Is this biblical? Is this from scripture?
Oh, I'm fairly certain it is. Yeah, I don't
Okay.
think that they're not making it up. I mean, it just is a weird section of the Bible to do. But then that's
Well,
just
my guess is the reason it's included is because it gives the origin of tithing.
that's a
Right?
thought.
Like, this is why you have to give money to the church, because it's this tradition that was established by Abraham, the founder of monotheism. So it gives credibility to that practice.
Yeah, Lois, then Sarah.
Yeah, maybe something also about priesthood, because if I remember rightly, I've heard this phrase somewhere, thou art a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. And that may be part of the ordination of priests or something, but at any rate, that presumably this is the origin of that as well.
Yeah, Abraham and Melchizedek is Genesis 14. Anyone who wants to go back to, apparently. Various other bits from Genesis as well, to do with covenants and circumcision. I don't know. Did we cover any circumcision? That might be later in the play. Something to look forward to. So Sarah.
We haven't, but I am wondering if this is all to do with the fact that this, did you say this was Barbers? This was
Yes,
the Barbers
indeed.
play. I'm wondering, I'm not entirely sure what the link is with the horse, but I'm wondering if this is something to do with the fact that this is the Barbers company specifically who are doing this, because I mean, Barbers did a lot more than barbering, didn't they? So the fact that there's like this tithe, that he's got all these riches and he's giving a tithe, I wonder if this is an excuse for the barbers to show off their wares, or you can buy this at the barber surgeons. I don't know, but it seems to me that maybe there's something else going on here that isn't particularly biblical, but might be relevant to maybe Chester community. I don't know.
There may also be other thematic links to what is going on later on in this particular play as well, in terms of why they're choosing that. But that may be something we come into in a bit. Any other thoughts before we get into more meat, as it were, for this particular play? No? Okay. So, Melchizedek and his laden horse make their way, and an expositor explains things.
What time?
Lynn, if you could exposit.
I'm the
for us.
expositor?
Yes, if you could exposit for us.
Sam,
as
I
well.
remember you saying that.
Mm.
Lordings? Is that where I'm starting?
Yes.
Lordings, what may this signify? I will expound apertly, that lewd standing hereby may know what this may be. This offering, I say, veriment, signifieth the New Testament, that now is used with good intent throughout all Christianity. In the old law, without leasing, when these two good men were living, of beasts was all their offering, and eke their sacrament. But sith Christ died on the rood tree, with bread and wine, him worship we. And on Shares Thursday, in this Monday, was his commandment. But for this thing used should be afterward, as now do we, in signification, as leave you me, Melchizedek did so. And tithes making, as you see here, of Abraham begunnen were. Therefore, he was to God full dear, and so were they both too. By Abraham understand I may, the Father of heaven, in good faith, Melchizedek, a priest to his pay, to minister that sacrament that Christ ordained on Sheer Thursday, in bread and wine, to honor him a. This signifieth thee, sooth to say, Melchizedek, his present.
And well, I think we all did fairly well, actually. I think we mostly kept pace with the expositor there. I think we were ahead of them on the tithing. Well done, everyone. I'm sure that was clear as crystal for everyone. So that's good. We'll let the play run on now as we get into more straightforward narrative. Deus, speak to Abraham, please.
Abraham, my servant, I say to thee, thy help and succour will I be, for thy good deed much pleaseth me. I tell thee wittily.
Lord, one thing that thou wilt see, that I pray after with heart free, grant me, Lord, through thy posty, some fruit of my body. I have no child, foul ne fair, save my Nurry, to be my heir, that makes me greatly to appear. On me, Lord, have mercy.
My friend Abraham, leave thou me, thy nurry, thine heir shall not be, but one son I shall send thee, begotten of thy body. Abraham, do as I thee say, look up and tell me if thou may, stars standing on the stray, that impossible were. No more shalt thou, for no need, number of thy body, the seed that thou shalt have without and dread, thou art to me so dear. Therefore, Abraham, servant free, look that thou be true to me, and forward here I make with thee thy seed to multiply. So much more further shalt thou be, kings of thy seed, men shall see, and one child of great degree, all mankind shall fall by. I will that from henceforth alway, each knave's child one the 8th day, be circumcised, as I say, and thou thyself full soon, and who circumcised nay is, forsaken shall be with me who is. For inobedient that man is, therefore look that this be done.
Lord, already in good faith, blessed be thou ever and aye, for that men very know may thy folk from other men. Circumcised they shall be all, anon for aught that may befall. I thank thee, Lord, thy own thrall, kneeling on my knee.
Lordings, all take intent what betokens this commandment. This was sometime a sacrament, the old law truly ta'en. As followeth now veriment, so was this in the Old Testament. But when Christ died, away it went, and baptism then began. Also God behetteth here to Abraham, his servant dear, so much seed that in no manner numbered it may be, and one seed mankind two forby, that was Christ Jesus, literally. For of this kind was Our Lady, and so also was he.
I think we should just briefly pause here. I said we were getting into open narrative, but actually I forgot. No, we have the weird circumcision seed bit, which sets up obviously what comes next. It's not narratively unimportant, but again, it's also just God going off on one on circumcision, and it just again, you don't tend to get this one revived as part of modern mystery cycles. For some reason they just skip over this and go straight to the next bit. I don't know why, because I love a good exposition on circumcision. I like to cross my legs pointedly in public. It's yeah, and this constant talking about seed, it's just something, but yeah, they're very, very weird. But then this is Genesis. This is what Genesis is like. Genesis is just full of this stuff. And this expositor trying to link Old and New Testament stuff, and we moved on from that. We now do this. It's really interesting that this play is trying to throw all the stuff in, isn't it? And finding this very odd.
I mean, I can see why, particularly if like churchmen wrote these plays, we want to justify tithing. We want a teleology for tithing, so that our parishioners don't be like, why should I have to do that? Because God, it's been around since Abraham. So providing a teleology for why we don't practice circumcision anymore doesn't really seem as necessary, if you know what I mean. I mean, people are probably happy not to have to do that anymore. Much more so than having to tithe.
Yes. Okay. Shall we now we're going to get to actual narrative. Okay, let's get on with the narrative. So God is going to talk to Abraham, and things were going well during the shall we say the gap between the previous scene and the expositor here. There's some but there's going to be some changes here. Some changes are going to go down.
Abraham, my servant Abraham.
Lo, Lord, already here I am.
Take Isaac thy son by name, that thou lovest best of all, and in sacrifice offer him to me upon that hill beside thee. Abraham, I will that it so be, for aught that may befall.
My lord, to thee is my intent ever to be obedient. That son that thou to me hast sent, offer I will to thee, and fulfill thy commandment with hearty will, as I am Kent. High God, Lord omnipotent, thy bidding done shall be. My meanie and my childer each one lingers at home, both all and one. Safe Isaac shall with me be gone to a hill here beside. Make thee ready, my darling, for we must do a little thing. This wood upon thy back thou bring, we must not long abide. A sword and fire I will take, for sacrifice I must make. God's bidding will I not forsake, but I obedient be.
Father, I am ready to do your bidding meekly, to bear this wood full bound am I, as you command me.
Oh, Isaac, Isaac, my darling dear, my blessing now I give thee here. Take up this faggot with good cheer, and on thy back it bring, and fire with me I will take.
Your bidding I will not forsake. Father, I will never slake to fulfill your bidding.
Now, Isaac, son, go we our way to yonder mountain, if that we may.
Here they both go to the place to do sacrifice.
My dear father, I will essay to follow you full fain.
Oh, my heart will break in three to hear thy words. I have pity.
As thou wilt, Lord, so must it be. To thee I will be bane. Lay down thy faggot, my own son.
Already, Father, Lois is here. But why make you so heavy cheer? Are you anything adread? Father, if it be your will, where is the beast that we shall kill?
There is none, son, upon this hill that I see here in this steed.
Father, I'm full sore afraid to see you bear this drawn sword. I hope for all middle yard you will not slay your child.
Oh, dread thee not, my child. I read our Lord will send of his Godhead some manner of beast into this stead, either tame or wild.
Father, tell me or I go, whether I shall have harm or no.
Oh, dear God, that is me woe. Thou burst my heart in sunder.
Father, tell me of this case, why you use sword drawn hands and bear it naked in this place. Thereof I have great wonder.
Isaac's son, peace, I pray thee. Thou breaks my heart even in three.
I pray you, Father, leave nothing from me, but tell me what you think.
Oh, Isaac, I must thee kill.
Alas, Father, is that your will? Your own child for to spill upon this hill's brink? If I have trespassed in any degree with the yard, you may beat me. Put up your sword if your will be, for I am but a child.
Oh, my son, I am sorry to do to thee this great annoy. God's commandment do must I. His works are I full mild.
Would God my mother were here with me, she would kneel upon her knee, praying you, Father, if it might be for to save my life.
Oh, comely creature, but I thee kill. Grieve my God, and that full ill. I may not work against his will, but ever obedient be. Oh, Isaac, son, to thee I say, God has commanded me this day sacrifice, this is no nay, to make of thy body.
Is it God's will I shall be slain?
Yea, son, it is not for to lean to his bidding, I will be bane, ever to his pleasing. But that I do this doleful deed, my Lord will not quite me my meed.
Marry, Father, God forbid, but you do your offering. Father, at home your son you shall find that you must love by course of kind. Be I once out of your mind, your sorrow may soon cease. But you must do God's bidding. Father, tell my mother for nothing.
For sorrow I may my hands wring, thy mother I cannot please. Oh, Isaac, blessed mote thou be. Almost my wit I lose for thee. The blood of thy body so free I am full loath to shed.
Father, sith you must needs do so, let it pass lightly and over go. Kneeling on my knees too, your blessing on me spread.
My blessing, dear son, give I thee, and thy mother's with hearts so free, the blessing of the Trinity, my dear son, on thee light.
Father, I pray you hide mine eye, that I see not your sword so keen. Your stroke, Father, would I not see, lest I against it grill.
My dear son Isaac, speak no more. Thy words make my heart full sore.
Oh, dear Father, wherefore, sith I must needs be dead, of one thing I would you pray. Since I must die the death this day, as few strokes as you may when you smite off my head.
Thy meekness, child, makes me afraid. My song may be well away.
Oh, dear Father, do away your making so mickle moan. Now, truly, Father, this talking doth but make long tarrying. I pray you come and make ending, and let me hence be gone.
Come hither, my child, that art so sweet. Thou must be bounden hand and feet.
Here Isaac riseth and cometh to his father, and he taketh him and bindeth him and layeth him on the altar for to sacrifice him.
Father, we must no more meet by aught that I can see. but do with me right as thou wilt. I must obey, and that is skill, God's commandment to fulfill. For needs so it must be. Upon the purpose that you have set you, forsooth, Father, I will not let you, but forevermore unto you bow, well that I may. Father, greet well my brethren young, and pray my mother of her blessing. I come no more under her wing. Farewell forever and aye. But Father, I cry you mercy of that I have trespassed to thee, forgiven, Father, that it may be until doomsday.
My dear son, let be thy moans. My child, thou grieve me, but owns. Blessed be thou, body and bones, and I forgive thee here. No, my dear son, here shalt thou lie. Unto my work now must I hie. I had as lief myself to die as thou, my darling dear.
Father, if you be to me kind, about my head a kerchief bind, and let me lightly out of your mind, and soon that I were speed.
Farewell, my sweet son of grace.
Here kiss him, and bind the kerchief about his head, and let him kneel down and speak.
I pray you, Father, turn down my face a little while you have space, for I am full sore retreat.
To do this deed I am sorry.
Yea, Lord, to thee I call and cry, of my soul thou have mercy, heartily I thee pray.
Lord, I would fain work thy will. This young innocent that lies so still, full loath were me him to kill by any manner of way.
My dear Father, I you pray, let me take my clothes away, for shedding blood on them today at my last ending.
Heart, if thou would break in three, thou shalt never master me. I will no longer let for thee. My God, I may not grieve.
Mercy, Father, why tarry you so? Smite of my head and let me go. I pray you, rid me of my woe, for now I take my leave.
My son, my heart will break in three to hear thee speak such words to me. Jesu, on me thou have pity, that I have most in mind.
Now, Father, I see that I shall die. Almighty God and Majesty, my soul I offer unto thee. Lord, to it be kind.
And here let Abraham take and bind his son Isaac upon the altar, and let him make a sign as though he would cut off his head with the sword. Then let the angel come and take the sword by the end and stay it, saying,
Abraham, my servant dear,
Lo, Lord, I am already here.
lay not thy sword in no man ear on Isaac, thy dear darling. Nay, do thou him no annoy, for thou dreadst God, well see I, that of thy God, son, hast no mercy to fulfill his bidding.
And for his bidding thou dost eye, and spares neither for fear nor fay to do thy son to death today, Isaac to thee full dear. Therefore God has sent by me and fay a lamb that is both good and gay into this place as thou see may. Lo, it is right here.
Oh, Lord of heaven and King of bliss, thy bidding I shall do, who wis. Sacrifice here to me sent is, and all, Lord, through thy grace. An honoured wedder here I see, among these briars tied is he. To thee offered it shall be, a non-right in this place.
Then let Abraham take the lamb and kill him.
Abraham, by myself I swear, for thou hast been obedient ever, and spared not thy son so dear to fulfill my bidding. Thou shalt be blessed, thou art worthy, thy seed I shall multiply. As stars and sands, so many had I of thy body coming. Of enemies thou shalt have power, and thy blood also in fear, for thou hast been meek and bonny to do as I thee bade. And all nations live thou me, blessed evermore shall be, through fruit that shall come of thee, and save through thy seed.
Lordings, this signification of this deed of devotion, and you Whitmon, may turn you to much good. This deed you see done in this place, in example of Jesus done it was, that for to win mankind grace was sacrificed on the rood. By Abraham I may understand the Father of heaven, that can fand with his son's blood to break that band the devil has brought us to. By Isaac understand I may Jesus that was obedient his father's will to work all way, and death to underfond.
An unexpected stage direction. Here let the doctor kneel down and say,
Such obedient grant us, O Lord, as obedience grant us, O Lord, ever to thy most holy word, that in the same we may accord, as this Abraham was bane. And then all together shall we that worthy King in heaven see, and dwell with him in every glory forever and ever. Amen.
And here a messenger comes in, whether it's a similar figure to Preco earlier, but Alan has this messenger.
Make room, lordings, and give us way, and let Balak come in and play, and Balaam, that can say, to tell you a prophecy. That Lord that died on Good Friday, he save us all, both night and day. Fare you well, lording, I go my way, I may no longer abide.
These messengers really, it's the thing is he's got another parcel to deliver, so he can't hang around. He's only going to ring the doorbell once and then he's off. So, yeah. Okay, we get a fairly solid Abraham story there. We get, lots of business. There were lots more stage directions, but they were all sort of things that were inferred in the actual dialogue, so I didn't throw them in. So there's, things like Abraham taketh the sword. He lifts up his hands to heaven at one point. There was one there when he's a bit sad. Abraham comforting his son. Isaac fearing lest his father will slay him. Sort of interesting ones, but not sort of. Here Abraham wringing his hands, but the dialogue already said that he wrings his hands, so it was sort of there. So yeah, thoughts on Abraham and Isaac? It doesn't feel as intense an Abraham and Isaac as some of the other ones we've done. It felt more on a surface. There were lots of, it sort of pulled all the levers, but it didn't get them down solidly. So yeah, thoughts? Sarah.
It felt quite intense to me, I have to say. But I haven't been here for the other Abraham and Isaac, so I maybe it just seemed to go on a long time. It's like, oh, please don't kill me. Oh, I must kill you. Oh, okay, if you have to kill me, do it quick. Oh, my poor son, I must kill you. Do it quick. Oh, my poor son, do it quick. And I'm just like, yeah, for heaven's sake, Abraham, just like if you're doing this, just do it. I don't know. It seemed to be very spun out, which I assume is, for audience suspense purposes and drama. But I don't know. I haven't read any of the others, so I guess maybe it does it even more so in the others.
Oh yeah, I mean there's the Broom Abraham and Isaac play. Utterly, I mean it's we've done the full cast audio adaptation of that that's available on the podcast, and yeah, that's intense stuff. It is your proper serial killer, I hear voices kind of play, and the son is going don't tell it does very similar. There are textual similarities with the two, this version and that play. But there's a lot more of the, oh, don't tell mum, and do it, do it quickly, and I'm not coming back here again, Dad. Afterwards. And I just like the stage direction, but as if he is going to go and chop his head off, but then stop. So it's like it's got to be one of those sort of slightly awkward mime moments, because the angel then has to grab the end of the sword, and But again, the stage directions are really, really interesting because they are in English as well as the Latin versions in depending on which version we're looking at. Sarah.
Yeah, I actually really love that stage direction about the angel grabbing the end of the sword, because I'm sure they probably meant the hilt. But I just had this image in my head of him swinging the sword around and this angel appearing just going and catching the end of it in his.
And that's exactly how I see it. Actually, I really see it. It's not, you know, I mean, health and safety on that, God only. But yeah. But yeah, it's a much more straightforward narrative. But I mean, overall, but again, at the end of this play, we get business linking it to the next play. We've got something it's basically stage management business of, hang on, the next one's coming through, the next wagon's coming along. So you get a sense of how these plays are all interconnected as well, that they're talking to each other, that they're all part of an event that you know, because these are wheelie carts moving their way through Chester, and the next ones are coming. Okay, we just about have time to do the next one, but we're not going to be able to linger on it too much. So, which is a shame because it's the Kappa's play. This is a play of Moses and other stuff that I'm sure we're all very familiar with. And this is it for the Old Testament as well. This is our last Old Testament from Chester. So, without further ado, we're going to rattle through most of it without stopping. We may stop at certain points. But God, you're going to have a chat to Moses.
Moses, my servant, lief and dear, and all my people that be here, ye wasn't in Egypt when you were out of thraldom my you brought, and will you have no God but me, no false gods, none make ye, my name in vain name not ye, for that liketh me naught. I will hold your holy day and worship it equal way, father and mother, all that ye may, and slay no man nowhere. Fornication shall ye flee. No man's good steal ye, nor in no place lend ye be, false witness for to bear. Your neighbour's wife desire you naught, servantly goods that ye have brought. Ox nor ass indeed, no thought, nor nothing that is his, nor wrongfully to have his thing against his love and his liking. In all these things keep my bidding, that ye do not amiss.
Good Lord, that art ever so good, I will fulfill with mild mood thy commandments, for I stood to hear thee now full still. 40 days now fasted have I, that I might be the more worthy to learn this token truly. Now will I work thy will.
And Moses is going to go to the mount and speak to the people.
Good folk, dread ye not. To prove you with God hath this wrought. Take these words in your thought. Now know ye what is sin. By this sight now ye may see that he is peerless of postee. Therefore this token look do ye, thereof that ye ne blin.
Lordings, this commandment was the first law that ever God sent. 10 points there have been, takes intent, that most infect is in. But all that story for to fong, to play this month, it were too long. Therefore, most fruitful ever among, shortly we shall min. After we read of this story, that in the Mount of Sinai, God gave the law wittily, written with his hand, in stone tables as read I, before got men honoured Mormon try. Moses brake them hastily, for that he would not wand. But after played, as ye shall see, other tables outcarved he, which God bade written should be the words he said before. The which tables shrined were, as after God can Moses lear, and that shrine to him was dear, thereafter evermore.
And here God appeareth again to Moses.
Moses, my servant, go anon and carve out of the rock of stone tables to write my bidding again. My bidding upon, such as thou had before. And in the morning look thou high into the Mount of Sinai. Let no man what but thou only of company, no more.
Lord, thy bidding shall be done, and tables carve it out full soon. But tell me, I pray thee, this boon, what words I shall write?
Thou shalt write the same law that in the tables was before. It shall be kept for evermore, for that is my delight.
Then Moses brings the tablets before the people.
God's folk of Israel, hearken ye all to my spell. God bade ye shall keep well this that I shall say. 6 days bodily work all, the 7th Sabbath ye shall call. That day for aught that may befall, hallowed shall be A. Who doth not this, die shall he. In houses forever shall no man see first fruits. To God offer ye, for so himself be owed. Purple and bisa, both two, to him that shall save you from woe and help you in your need.
And we exit Moses and we move on to the Balak play.
Right, oh good. I, Balak, king of Moab land, all Israel and I had in hand, I am so wroth, I would not want to slay them, every wight. For their God helps them so stoutly of other lands to have mastery, that it is bootless wittily against them for to fight. What nation doth them annoy? Moses prayeth anon in high, then have they ever the victory, and their enemies the worse. Therefore, how I will roken be, I am bethought, as mote I thee. Balaam shall come to me, that people for to curse. No knife nor sword may not avail, that ilka people to assail. That funds to fight he shall fail, for sicker it is no boot.
And casts up, having flourished, a sword.
How do I cast it up? Throw it in the air? Okay. All nations they do annoy, and my folk comen for to destroy. An ox that knoweth busily the grass right to the root. Whosoever Balaam blesseth, he wis blessed that man soothly is. Whosoever he curseth, fares amiss. Such name over all hath he. But yet I trust venged to be, with dint of sword or policy, on these false losels leaves me. Leave this without doubt, for to be roken is my desire. My heart burns as hot as fire, for fervent anger and for ire, till this be brought about. Therefore, my God and gods all, almighty Mars, on thee I call, with all the powers infernal, rise now and help at need. I am informed by true report how the mediators doth resort to win my land to their comfort, descended of Jacob's seed. Now show your power, you gods mighty, that these caitives I may destroy, having of them full victory, and them brought to mischance.
Sword, again. That's all the stage direction gives us.
Beat them down in plain battle, those false losels so cruel, that all the world may hear tell we take on vengeance. Out of Egypt fled they be, and passed through the Red Sea. The Egyptians that them pursued truly were drowned in that same flood. They have one God, mickle of might, which them doth aid in wrong and right. Whosoever with them foundeth to fight, he winneth little good. They have slain this wot I well, through help of God of Israel, both Sihon and Og, kings so fell, and plainly them destroy. Therefore rise up, ye gods, every one, ye be 100 gods for one. I would be roken them upon for all their pomp and pride. Therefore go fetch him, bachelier, that he may curse these people here, for sicker on them in no manner may we not roken be.
Sir, on your errand will I go on, that it shall be done anon, and he shall wreak you on your fond the people of Israel.
Yea, look thou het him gold, great one, and lands for to live upon, to destroy them as be can, these freaks that been so fell.
And the soldier goes to Balaam.
Balaam, my lord, greets well thee, and prayeth thee soon at him to be, to curse the people of Judah that done him great annoy.
Abide a while there, bachelor, for I may have no power, but if that God's will were, and that shall I wait in high.
Balaam kneels and prays to God.
Balaam, I command thee, King Balak's bidding for to flee, that people that blessed is of me, curse thou by no way.
Lord, I must do thy bidding, though it to me be unliking, for thereby much winning I might have had today.
Yet though Balak be my foe, thou shalt have leave thither to go, but look that thou do right so, as I have thee taught.
Lord, it shall be done in height, this ass shall bear me aright. Go we together anon, Sir Knight, for leave now have I caught.
And then Balaam and the Miles ride along.
Knight, by my law that I live one, now have I leave for to gone. Cursed they shall be, every one, and I ought win me. Hood the hinge that he be hight, God's host I set at light. Worried they shall be this night, or that I wind away.
Balaam, do my lord's will, and of gold thou shalt have thy fill. Spare thou naught that ought folk to spill, and spurn their God's speech.
Friend, I have God's wonder fell. Both Ruffin and Raynell will work right as I them tell. There is no wile to seek.
And Balaam, mounting the donkey, and rides with the soldiers. The angel of the Lord comes before them, sword drawn. The ass, at the sight of the angel, will lie prostrate before.
Go forth, Burnell. Go forth, go. What the devil? My ass will not go. Served she me never so, what sorrow soever it is. What the devil? Now she is fallen down. But thou rise and make thee bound, and bear me soon out of this town. Thou shalt abide, Ewis.
And Balaam strikes the ass. The ass transforms and says,
Master, thou dost ill secretly to so good an ass as me to me. Now hast thou beaten me here 3 that bear thee thus about.
Burnell, why beguilest thou me when I have most need to thee?
That sight that before me I see maketh me down to lout. Am not I master, thy own ass, to bear thee whither thou wilt pass, and many winter ready was? To smite me, it is shame. Thou wottest well, master, perdie, that thou hast ne'er none like to me, nay, never yet so served I thee. Now I am not to blame.
Then Balaam sees the angel and suddenly falls to his knees.
Ah, Lord, to thee I make a vow, I had no sight of thee or now. Little wist I that it was thou that feared my ass so.
And Alan, you're this angel.
Oh, why hast thou beaten thy ass? Why? Now I am coming thee to nigh, that changed thy purpose so full sly, and now wouldst be my foe. If this ass had not gone down gone, I would have slain thee here anon.
Lord, have pity me upon, for sinned I have sore. Lord, is it thy will that I forth gone?
Yea, but look thou do that folk no woe other way than God bade thee do, as said to thee before.
And Balaam and the soldiers ride to the king.
Ah, welcome, Balaam, my friend. For all my anger thou shalt end, if that thy will be, to wend and wreak me on my foe.
Naught may I speak, as I have win, but as God putteth me within, to forby all the end of my kin. Therefore, sir, me is woe.
Come forth, Balaam, come with me. For on this hill, so mote I fee, the folk of Israel shalt thou see. And curse them, I thee pray, Gold and silver and eke pearl thou shalt have great plenty, to curse them, that it soon may be all that thou sayest today.
Balaam gets off the ass, and he and the king go to the mountain.
Lo, Balaam, now thou seest here God's people all in fear, city, castle, and river. Look now, how likes thee? Curse them now at my prayer, as thou wilt be to me full dear, and in my realm most of power and greatest under me.
And they stand at the south side of the mountain.
How may I curse here in this place that people that God blessed has? In them is both might and grace, and that is ever well seen. Witness may I none bear against God, that them can wear, his people that no man may dare, nay trouble with no teen. I say this folk shall have their will, that no nation shall them grill. The goodness that they shall fulfill, numbered may not be. Their God shall keep, their God shall them keep and save, and other reproof shall they none waive, but such death as they shall have, I pray God send to me.
What the devil ails thee, thou populart? Thy speech is not worth a fart. Doted, I hope that thou art, for madly thou hast wrought. I bade thee curse them every one, and thou blessest them, blood and bone. To this north side thou shalt go, for here thy deed is naught.
They move to the north side.
Aye, Lord, that here is fair warning, halls, chambers, great liking, valleys, woods, grass growing, fair yards, and eke river. I wot well that God made all this, his folk to live in joy and bliss. That curses them, cursed be his, who blesseth them to God is dear.
Ah, thou preachest populard as a pie, the devil of hell thee destroy. I bade thee curse my enemy, therefore thou come me to. Now hast thou blessed them here three, for the means me to annoy.
Sir King, I told thee ere so three, I might none other do.
And Balaam turns towards the east side of the mount.
Now one thing I will tell you all, hereafter what shall befall. A star of Jacob spring shall, a man of Israel, that shall overcome and have in bond all hingers and dukes of strange land, and all this world have in his hand as Lord to dight and deal.
Ah, go we hence. It is no boot longer with this man to moot. For God is both crop and root, and Lord of heaven and hell. Now see I well, no man unlive against him is able to strive. Therefore here, as mote I thrive, I will no longer dwell.
O Balak, king, abide a while. I have imagined a marvellous wile, thy enemies how thou shalt beguile, my counsel if thou take. There may no pestilence them dismay, neither battle them affray, plentiful they shall be, of gold, cattle, and corn. Their God of them takes the cure, from passions that he makes them sure, them to preserve in great pleasure, as he before hath sworn. Ye shall not them destroy for but for a time vex them ye may. Mark well now what I shall say, and work after my bore. Send forth women of thy country, namely those that beautiful be, and to thy enemies let them draw nigh, as stales to stand them before. When the young men that lusty be have perceived their great beauty, they shall desire their company, love shall them so inflame. Then, when they see they have them sure in their love, without and cure, they shall deny them their pleasure, except they grant this same, to love their great solemnity and worship the gods of thy country, and all things commonly with other people to use, so shall they their God displease, and torn themselves to great disease. Then may thou have thy heart's ease, their law when they refuse.
Balaam, thy counsel I will fulfill. It shall be done right as thou will. Come here, my knight, that well can skill my message to perform. Go thou forth, thou valiant knight. Look thou ne stop day ne night. Bring these women to my sight, that shall my enemies destroy. Spare thou neither rich nor poor, widow, maid, nor ilke whore. If she be fresh of colour, bring her with thee, I say.
My lord, I shall by fast to do your will in goodly haste. Trust ye well at the last, your enemies ye shall dismay.
Lords and ladies, that here be lent, this messenger that forth was sent, as ye have heard, to that intent, these women for to bring. So craftily he hath wrought, the fairest woman he hath outsought, and to God's people he hath them brought. God knoweth a parlous thing. For when they had of them a sight, many of them against might gave themselves with all their might, those women for to please. And then soon to them they went, to have their lord. Love was their intent, desiring those women of their consent, and so to live in peace. But those women them denied their love, the said it should be tried, which they might not else abide, for fear of great deceit. Those blind people swear many an oath, that neither for lief nor for loath, at any time they would have them a wrath, nor never against them plead. So by these women, full of illusion, God's people were brought to great confusion, and his displeasure. In conclusion, his law they set at naught. God to Moses, leave ye now, bade him set up a gallows tree, the princes of the tribes there hanged to be, for sins that they had wrought. With that Moses was sore grieved, and generally he them reprieved. Therefore they would have him have mischieved, but God did him defend. For the good people that tended the law, when they that great mischief saw, wholly together they can them draw upon those wretches to make an end. Anon, Phineas, a young man devout, captain he was of that whole rout, and these wretches without doubt 24,000 they slew. And then God was well content, but Phineas for his good intent. As the prophet writeth verament, as here we shall it show. Soon after, by God's commandment, to the Maidenites they went, and there they slew verament, Balaam, with 5 giants mow. Lordlings, much more matter is in this story than ye have heard here, but the substance without and weir was played you before. And by this prophecy leave ye me 3 kings as ye shall play at sea, honoured at his nativity, Christ when he was born. Now, worthy sirs, both great and small, here have we showed this story before, and if it be pleasing to you all, tomorrow next ye shall have more. Praying you all both east and west, where that ye go to speak the best, the birth of Christ, fair and honest, here shall ye see, and fare ye well.
And yes, after a little bit of closing business there, tomorrow we're going to have. There's going to be more because this is dating from the later Whitsun version of the Chester cycle. So it's not all happening in one day; it's happening over 3 days. And day 1 was the Old Testament, and maybe that's speaking to when we were talking about all this business between scenes. It's because maybe these pageants are just massive. Because they're only doing 5 pageants in one day, and maybe that they're all just they're bigger. Whereas I'm assuming that because we've got another 20 odd to go for the next 2 days, There's a lot of smaller pageants, so maybe there's a scale thing going on for day one. That you get Noah, you get a lot of horse action, again, a lot of riding. Now, before we get on to the really weird place this play goes, in just disturbing weird, let's just go for fun weird, okay? Shall we just talk about the ass? How is the ass done? Is it a pantomime ass? What? How? Because they have to ride it, and they're riding along, and there's all sorts of stuff going on there. Thoughts in the room, Lynn?
Let me just say the ass transforms, so maybe there was some kind of trick or convention where there is actually an ass on stage, and then he hits it, and a person with an ass's head comes on or something. Like what?
Yeah, it's slightly difficult to tell at that point because that's not a literal stage direction. That's sort of passing from the Latin. So there might be some room for manoeuvre as to what they mean at that point. It might just be that the ass now talks rather than the ass is literally substituted. But yes, I don't know. Of course, all the horse action is probably happening on ground level, that maybe the carts are where, speaking action is going on. We do have other plays where people move about on the street, either speaking on the street or on a horse. We've got horse action in other plays. So there's lots of options here as to how this actually practically functions. Sarah?
I'm thinking it was probably a guy with a sort of ass's head or mask given a piggyback to another guy and sort of jolting him along, and then at one point he stops and he kneels down and then he starts to speak. I mean, that would be the easiest way to do it, but I do love the idea that it was an actual pantomime horse and that it was two people in a costume, galloping along the side of the float, trotting along, and with him on his back. And then that's how I would do it in my head.
Yeah, because it's full of all this stuff. Because of course, when we get then to the main Balak action, of course, Balak is this Herod sword waving. We've got all these one word stage directions of flourish, sword, and then cast up, and we don't really know. But beyond waggling a lot of "rah, look at me, I am a tyrant" kind of stuff. But then they go to a mountain, and they demarcate which side of the mountain. It's all very important as to who they're cursing at what point. Are you cursing my enemy, or are you cursing my friend? And all this stuff, and stuff which we all remember from from school. We all know this story really well. It's actually just so curious. Does anyone actually know this story outside of having read this play in any meaningful way? Lois?
I've come across a lot of references to it. The bit that really surprised me actually was the reference to Phineas, the captain who killed umpteen people, of these gorgeous women that were brought to tempt the good people, because that was actually going to be the subject of a play by Milton. And there's an interesting manuscript where he lists a whole string of biblical and historical topics that he thought would make good plays before he finally settled on the one he did. And this was going to be a play in which everybody would be debating whether Phineas was right to kill, particularly, I think, one woman who was a regal. And then finally, at the end, the word of the Lord is brought approving the action of Phineas. And this is almost certainly Milton discussing what ought to happen to the French wife of Charles I, because she's leading the country back into Catholicism. But anyway, it's interesting that this may seem like a terribly minor subject to us, but clearly the Bible was very well known to some people, particularly Puritans, who paid a lot of attention to the Old Testament as well as the New.
Yes, because I mean it's the only one version of this story we have surviving in Mystery Cycles. I don't know if we even have references to other Balaam or and Balak plays. So it's this interesting question: how much of an outlier is this? And Chester at these witnesses to Chester only have these 5 plays for the Old Testament. They've managed to pack pretty much all the major hits in, but they haven't bothered with much Moses stuff. They've just done a bit of Moses. Moses is always a tricky sequence to do, but we've got no Pharaoh. We've not got any of the plagues of Egypt or any of that stuff. And it's always this thing: how do you round off the Old Testament stuff? You know, you've got the big hits: Cain and Abel, Adam and Eve. You know, Abraham and Isaac. And Chester's doing something slightly different and weaving in some slightly different material in with it. Sarah.
Does seem like a really weird one to end with. Like, you know, specifically that last speech from the doctor says, oh, you know, you come back tomorrow for the New Testament. So presumably this was the final play of the day. And it just seems like a really odd one to finish with. And I can imagine it was like, oh yeah, come back tomorrow. The good shit's happening tomorrow. Yeah, because it's like, I can imagine if I was watching this, if I was on the street watching this, I'd be like, what was that? I mean, you know, finish off with Job, you know, with his boils or whatever, or, you know, you want something kind of flashy and crowd pleasing to kind of round off the day with. And it just seems really odd to me that they chose to finish with this one.
Yeah, I mean, whereas, you know, most others go with pharaohs and chariots and the parting of the Red Sea, and you, admittedly in a different setup to this, before then having a bit of a continuity break while everyone talks about the genealogies to give everyone a breather. Whereas, it's an interesting way of working. Lynn, then Lois.
Yeah, my guess would be that we've got some kind of teaching moment here, because the earlier part of this is like, this is why we have the sacraments, and this is why we do the Eucharist, and this is why we don't circumcise anymore, and this is why you tithe. So you have all these sort of teleologies for common practice. So my guess is like, this is why you should all, and you know, and then Abraham and Isaac, this is why you should always obey God, because everything will be all right in the end. You just are obedient. So, I mean, there's something going on here. It's like, yeah, there might be havoc and everything, but everything will be all right. Or, there's some kind of didactic function is my guess. But I couldn't really follow the plot well enough to tell you what that lesson is supposed to be.
Yeah, I mean, there is a part. There's something in the back of my mind. I think it's Chester, where in one of the documentation or something where people are talking about it from the period, they actually do explicitly refer to it as a précis or similar. They use a similar word. I cannot remember. I cannot find the reference off the top of my head, scrabbling around with books. That is actually, you know, part of the point of these is to, you know, précis important events and also important theology. And of course, as these are late witnesses, this is stuff that's gone through the Reformation mill. So it's not necessarily what the earlier iterations of the cycle were looking at, and it may be that there are different, you know, tensions pushing it in different ways. And we haven't really done that sort of detailed look at what happened with Chester over time to sort of interrogate the text in that way. Lois.
Yeah, it's certainly peculiar. I mean, especially with that long narrative of everything that happened after that, which looks like just sort of mindless following the Bible without dramatizing it. But it does make me wonder if there was a way of doing it that would have made it, you know, more exciting. I mean, if, for example, the ass had actually been a trained animal, I mean, they could train animals to do some weird things. There are references later on to a monkey that was trained to, you know, if they told him to jump over a stick for the King of England, he would do it. But if they told him to do it for the Pope, he would sit down and look disgusted. I mean, maybe they could get the ass to do something interesting. And then I wondered whether maybe some of that stuff at the end was mimed. You know, they could have brought people on to represent the beautiful women and the slaughter and so on. I don't know. It just seems to me they must have done something to keep it from being a damp squib.
Yes, and you have now, of course, brought in the elephant of the room of where this story goes, which is this great idea of suborning lots of women to draw people into a what? Sarah.
Just before you get on to that, I just wanted to pick up on what Lois was saying, because the other thing that occurred to me while she was speaking was that actually that bit where he's doing he wants Balaam to curse, the people to the west and the people to the north and the people to the east. If they were up on the cart doing that, then of course the people he'd be cursing would be the audience around below. So there could be a sort of like, predecessor of pantomime kind of thing. It's like, oh, curse them. And the audience are like, oh, and he's like, no, I bless you. And then he turns to the other side and it's like, curse them. It's like, I bless you. So, I guess it could have been, there could have been quite a fun interactive element to it. And with all the things Lois was saying, maybe it was a really popular one, actually. And it's just been a bit lost in the translation.
Yes, we don't talk about these. How does he put it? Balak King, abide a while. I have imagined a marvelous while. It's not a particularly marvelous while. I can see many flaws with it, which are all moderately horrific. But that is again Genesis. There are worse stories from Genesis you could dramatize that are even more horrific. So I think it's time for final thoughts. Quickly round the room for the three plays, and to a degree, if you can think back to the first two plays, the first day of Chester, because we've had the fall of Lucifer and Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel on top of this. Alan, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I must admit, I'm always quite surprised that there isn't much apart from Genesis in the Chester cycle. It doesn't really go forward, and one would have thought that something like David and Goliath would have been a much better draw for an audience. And the other thing that got me, and it may just be that because I was reading it absolutely stone cold, the sort of the Doctor's final speech there, which is supposedly the trailer for the following day, just seemed rather more pedestrian than much of the rest of the verse. It just didn't flow to me. That may just be the fact I was making a Horlicks of it, but
it could be that it's the kind of more throw this in, that'll do, to tell them what's happening next, rather than the thing that someone's poured their heart and soul in. Who pours their heart and soul into continuity announcements? I suspect no one. Greg, any final thoughts?
Yeah. It's made me want to go back and read this cycle, because I don't think I can't remember if I've read any more of this than just this, but God's got some great bits. It's just, I find it very interesting, as we've said, everyone else has said, just how much what this covers that others don't seem to.
Yeah, it's interesting because I do think Chester opens really well. I think the first few plays are actually really, really strong. And then we have this sort of blip, which may be our problem, not the plays, if that makes sense. Because, of course, what they're choosing to do. But it does seem to sort of meander a bit with sort of random... It's like the Abraham play with its sort of three little dog legs, one of which is let's present the challenge cup. Oh, well done you. Have a horse. It will be used in the next pageant but one. It's just sort of Eric, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I'm intrigued that this is kind of like having read other cycles, it doesn't go for the highlights all the time. Like the Moses one, it's the the whole plagues and sort of leading people into the desert kind of thing. Whereas this one isn't so much that. It's more like exposition. Oh, story, exposition. Whereas, comedy business with ass. But yeah, I don't know. And like the previous one with Isaac and Abraham is also interesting because, like you said, it didn't feel quite as intense because of a different like layout / reading. But it still doesn't have that. It's like they kind of went for the full compilation rather than the highlights that are usually in these plays. Where other play cycles, I think it was N Town or possibly York, I don't know, where you've got, I don't know, they all mix in my head, where it's kind of, you have just like basically that scene, it leads up to that scene, and then you get the sort of de-escalation of Abraham trying to kill Isaac, whereas there's no like fluff about tithes or anything.
Yeah, this one seems to be more trying to integrate them together as well, whereas some other plays just feel like, and here's our play, and here's our play, and here's our play, whereas this one feels like it's trying to tie all the plays together as well.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, they all of cycles give the Old Testament relatively short shrift. They want to get onto the crucifixion. That's what they're there for. They're here for Jesus. Lynn, any final thoughts?
Not really. Actually, I always struggle to key into biblical drama. The verse just seems so forced, and the sort of the way the language has evolved, and it's just not a genre that I have ever been able to enjoy or work up much interest in. Sorry.
Well, I think one of the things about this kind of verse, because it's street verse. I mean, this is the thing. It's not designed for a theatre space. It's designed to be bellowed on a street. So the style of writing is very different because it's got a very different functionality to it. I still think Chester is one of the better examples. I think it's a more accessible example because it is slightly more early modern in the sense that most of the transcribing that's being done is by early modern people rather than medieval people. So there's a certain early moderning that's going on with the text that makes it slightly easier to read. Whereas York is really hard work, actually. You really do need to key into the language a lot more than you do for this one. Sarah, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I the more mystery plays I look at, the more I find in them to enjoy. And we've only looked at this one, very briefly as a first look, but I tend to find that the more I start reading them and kind of digging into them, the more there is actually, the more I find. And I'm sure that that's the case with this one, these ones too. I think my favorite, comedy ass aside, and I wanted more of him, by the way. I feel he was woefully underserved by his role. But him aside, Noah was my favorite of the three. I just loved all the detail in it. Like you say, the ferrets and the hares getting a shout out, and the whole thing, the detail of it taking him 120 years to build. I really enjoyed all of that because it made it so human and it brought it right down into the streets of Chester. And I'm always interested with the Noah ones as well, is like what they actually did with the cart. Did they turn the whole thing into an ark on wheels? It's just, I find the spectacle side of it really intriguing as to how it worked and what they did. But yeah, no, I enjoyed today, and I think these plays are always fun. But I did find the last one an interesting place to stop, because it seems to me that was a weird one to end the day with. I don't mean this session, I mean like the first day, or the Old Testament day of the Chester cycle. So I think Lois is probably on the case there, where there was lots of spectacle kind of add in, and dumb shows added in, and all kinds of things. It's how you'd have to do it if you were going to do it today. And I've just realized that Rob has left the room. So having finished wittering on, has anybody else not Eric, have we had your final? Lois, you have a final thought?
I wish I knew more about the transmission of these cycles, really. I mean, I know that York and Wakefield have quite a close connection, and that some plays in one cycle are borrowing from the other, but I don't know if Chester was further away, and I don't know whether it had any kind of contact. It's just that there are bits in this that, especially where you get an expositor telling you at great length something which the audience would much rather have seen dramatized, whether this is the result of some kind of revision, either getting rid of bits they couldn't do because the various guilds were getting more and more hard up, I think, and resented having to pay so much to put these plays on. There were cases of several guilds collaborating on a play instead of doing their own because they just couldn't afford it or couldn't get the people. And that might explain some of what we've got here. I mean, like, you know, the feebleness of some of this linking dialogue. It's kind of it's like what happens sometimes in Elizabethan drama. I think we read the Fair Maid of the West, where you get someone coming on and saying, our stage can't really do a ship, so I'm going to tell you what happened. You know, it's rather like that here. You know, there was a cast of thousands, you know, several thousand women came on, and then several thousand men came, and then they killed them all. And, you know, I mean, it's just as if they didn't really know what to do. So that's, I suppose, what strikes me about it. I mean, I do quite like these plays, but that's partly just kind of fascinated with what they do with their original material, and what they consider suitable to add, and the way they keep trying to make sure you don't take it the wrong way.
Yeah, and it would be so great, wouldn't it, to go back in a time machine and like, because I can imagine if you saw productions of these plays 20 years apart, they'd be so different. And, you know, we've got one version. We've got one version that's been written down, and it's like, yeah, how did that evolve, or was this the evolution? You know, as you said, because they were all a lot poorer and strapped for cash, and it is fascinating. It is a really intriguing topic. Lynn,
I do have a question for Lois. So is that sort of economic shift that you were talking about, that they seem to be more hard up than they had to, you know, like get? Is that a post-plague phenomenon, like the population collapse and the economic upheaval? Is it that late that happened?
I don't know. The trouble is that our texts of these plays, I think, are nearly all 16th century anyway. You know, we only have a fairly late stage of them, just before they were going to be suppressed, because the Reformation, you know, initially thought it could adapt them and make them sort of Protestant, and then found it couldn't really. There was just too much dodgy material. So eventually they were banned altogether and kind of died out gradually, being done only in remote parts of the country where nobody could get at them. But it's actually quite interesting when you see plays of this type written in Catholic countries where they weren't banned and went on being written. I mean, in Spain, very sophisticated professional dramatists like Lope de Vega and Calderón wrote this kind of play. And what's really interesting, I actually went to see the Passion play in Oberammergau this summer, and that is a fascinating example of something changing over time, because the villagers of Oberammergau made this vow to do a play every 10 years. In the 18th century, even when the Catholics themselves were banning this kind of drama because it just didn't seem sufficiently devout and religious enough, and was full of comic stuff that was obviously not biblical, they didn't ban this one because of the vow that the villagers had taken. But instead, somebody rewrote it quite heavily and turned it into something which is almost like St. Matthew Passion, with loads of chorales and musical bits. Then somebody else got rid of the verse and put it all into prose. And then it's been successively revised. I mean, when I saw it, there was a lot of new stuff put in to make it quite clear that Jesus and his disciples were all Jews. They were not Christians set against a collection of Jews. There was a bit where they even held up the Torah, and a lot of new dialogue was written and so on. So it's very interesting when you get this kind of continuity in a play. We don't have it in England because of the way they were all suppressed, but you know, undoubtedly they would have been changed over the period in which they were being performed.
well, I mean, they're all I mean, this is a folk tradition as well, you know. But Rob was making the point earlier that these were meant to be, you know, bellowed in the street. And of course, in that sense, they are a bit like fairy tales in that they get rewritten and adapted every generation, you know, even into generations, like to fit what seems right or popular or whatever, you know, for the day, you know. So that they're constantly changing and adapting. Fascinating stuff. Does anyone have anything else to add? No, right. In that case, it just remains for me to thank all the wonderful readers for today, and in Rob's absence, thank you for watching. And that was the Chester Cycle. We'll see you again soon.
Bye.